Hey guys, this is our homework 4. All right. So some of these we did in class, depending on which class, but we look at the kite and we say to ourselves, interesting, a kite is special because it's 2 isosceles triangles. So here's an isosceles triangle, and down here is a isosceles triangle. And that although these are longer than these, we know that there's a line of symmetry. So what happens with a kite is that these angles here end up being equal if I folded them. So I can confirm that with my patty paper. This angle 1 is equal in measurement to this angle 2. Now these are not equal, so 48 degrees is not equal to 101. But these two are equal. Okay, so if I'm finding the missing angle, I would suggest calling that angle X until you solve for it and then plug it back in. So we see angle 1 we'll call X, and we know angle 2 is also the same measurement, so we can call that one X as well. So we'll say that the 4 angles, we know one angle plus a second angle plus a third angle plus a fourth angle. If it's a 4-sided shape or a quad, which is true, all 4 angles add up to 360. So we can substitute in an X for angle 1, an X for angle 2. Angle 3, the third angle, looks like 101, and the fourth angle looks like 48. So now we have an equation. We can set it up and solve. So we have 149 is equal to 2x, and all that has to equal 360. So if I subtract 149 on both sides, I get 1, 1, 1. Let me get my calculator. All right, so I get 2, which is what I thought. Okay, so 2x is equal to 211. So now I divide by 2 on both sides. I get x is equal to 105.5. So both angles are 105.5. So if you get a decimal and you're worried, I'm not so sure, did I get the answer right? Because I got a decimal. Sometimes the correct answer is a decimal, so we can double check these. So we got angle 1 is 105.5, angle 2, 105.5. The third angle, 101, and the fourth angle is 48. So let's add these all up just to reconfirm that they would add up to 360. Okay, looking good. Now, this question looks the same. So if you're like, oh, these 2 angles plus these 2 angles, all 4 have to add up to 180. So x plus 80 plus 44 adds up to, no, not 180, 360, because this is a quad. So 2x's plus 124. So we get x is equal to 118. So these would be 118 angle 1, and angle 2 would also be 118. Now let's look a little further with, 5. 5 is the same. So let's jump to 5, right? X, 59, 87. All right, so now looking at question 2, it looks like these are different. So I'm gonna if it's a different question, I may need a different strategy. So we also notice that a kite, if I take what looks like the stem or a stick that holds the kite together, those all meet at a 90-degree angle. So that's another way a problem might present itself. So it says angle 1 is pointed in here. Well, that's a 90-degree angle. Angle 2 is pointed over here. So what I'm focusing on here is technically this right triangle inside my kite. So if I look at that, I'm just going to draw it a little bit bigger. It looks like this is my angle 2. This is my angle 1. Out here is 90. So I know in here is 90. All the angles of these diagonals, they meet at 90. So that one's a 90 and that's 65. Okay. So I don't know what angle 2 is, so I'm going to call that X. But these 3 angles are part of a triangle, so these 3 angles would add up to 180. So X, which is my angle 2, plus the 90 degrees, plus the 65 should add up to 180. All right, so I get X is equal to 25. Just kind of double checking, 25 plus 65 plus 90 should all add up to 180. Yep, I get 180. All right, now looking here, so what would be the rest of these angles? Now I'm not sure if this is pointing here or pointing here, so that's got me a little stumped. But I'm going to assume that the 1 is pointing here. So that's kind of like this last question. Let's draw the triangle a little bit bigger. This is angle 2. This is 27. And angle 1 looks like out here would be 90, so in here would also be 90. So I think angle 1 is not pointed up here, but here in the middle. So I'm going to put 90. What else? Angle 2. Well, angle 2 would just be these 3 angles add up to 180 because they're part of a triangle. So I'm going to call angle 2 X until I solve for it. So I have X plus 90 plus 27. Now, this angle, and I can kind of verify this with patty paper, this angle 2, if this angle is 63, I flip it over, angle 3 should also be 63 because those are mirror images of each other. Those are isosceles triangles, and those 2 angles have to be equal. All right, question 6. We've got, I'm going to draw the triangle bigger. We have this angle up top is 51. This angle they're calling angle 3. Angle 1 has to be this 90 degrees. Angle 2 would also have to be 51 because of what we said last time. So if that's 51 degrees, that's 51 degrees. So let's figure out if angle 1 out here is 90, then this one in here is also 90, and we should be able to solve for angle 3. So I'm going to call angle 3 X and set these up and solve. So X plus the 90 plus the 51. All has that add up to 180. So I get 39. All right, what's happening down here? It says find the variable. So I'm only interested in finding what's X. So I see here, I know that's 90. And I'm going to focus on this triangle here. So this is 90, that's 2x, and there's an arrow here that says this one is 10x minus 6. So I can set this up and solve. So I can get 2x plus 10x minus 6 plus 90 all has to add up to 180. I get x is 8. Okay. What else we got here? Once again, that's 90. And notice these are, it's symmetrical. So if this is 5x minus 1, then this, if I flip this over, that other angle would be 5x minus 1. So I'm going to focus in on this triangle here. I'm just going to redraw it. That's 8x. We know this is 90. And if this is 5x minus 1, this also would be 5x minus 1. Okay, so these would add up to 180. Then I get x is 7. Check out the next video for the back.